Great to see you again. We're going to start. I'm really excited about this week's episode because it's a kind of a bit of a surprise. I didn't tell the guys. But basically, I wanted to share a little insight into what my life is like and hear it from different people. So I've got in today, we've got Sam, Tom, in a production group called Noxa, an artist act called, or production group called Billen, and then do separate things. And then we've got Marc Sylvan, a media composer, and Joe Killington. And I think Patty's microphone might still be on, not ours.
Someone's making a coffee.
Patty's microphone is on. Anyway, Joe. Oh.
Sorry, I just was letting Cher out the door.
Hello, good morning. How are you? How are you, sir, Mr. Killington?
I am very good. All the better for seeing you, Mrs. Horn.
By the way, I'm not married, but he just calls me that. So, Joe, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you? Because people love to hear how, obviously we've got aspiring creators here watching, and they want to know how we made it. So how did what's your story?
I was born in the Mother's Hospital in 1981. No, not really. I was originally MC. Used to do rapping on all the pirate stations. I don't know if you've seen that programme called People Just Do Nothing.
No.
I was literally MC Grinder. And then it went from that, but I could always sing. I've always been obsessed with, brought up on 60s music, 70s, 80s. And it just went from there. And I sent a demo to Celine Dion's producer. And he signed me when I was 18 to him and Mike Rutherford had like a joint venture from Genesis. And they signed me when I was 18 through EMI kind of thing. So I was signed for publishing and as an artist. And then that happened. And then I become a dustman because money dried up.
I only know the dustman bit. I didn't know that.
And then the money dried up and I didn't get a deal. Daniel Bedingfield got signed instead of me. Boo hoo hoo. And in all fairness, he was the better man. That song, if you're not the one, I mean, that's just unbelievable. But Got to Get Through This came out. So Colin Barlow was going to sign me, but he signed Daniel Bedingfield instead because he had that big hit at the time, and he was the better writer, which I couldn't admit at the time. And I'm going on, ain't I? Sorry. And then so I've got a job as a dustman, and then I thought I'd hit up someone that I met through my time in the music called John Saunderson, who was at Notting Hill. And he said to me, look, I can't sign you, but I'll send you all my briefs, and if you get the cuts, then I can sign you to the publishing company if I show my bosses. So rest is history, really. Obviously, and also in that time I wrote My with Armand Van Helden, just in about 2000.
You were signed?
No, that was just after I left the Chris Neal deal. That was in between that and the Dustman time.
So basically, it goes to show that you can be talking to these contacts and you can still further your career. You don't necessarily need to be signed, basically.
No, not at all. I mean, I wasn't signed when I wrote My, the verses and the pre and stuff that came out. So, and then
of course, the lady who sung that, Tara, we had on the first episode. So
Tara, I saw that.
It's a small world.
It is, mate. And, and that's it, really. And then just writing. I mean, I'm just like all of us. We just all absolutely love music. And anyone who still sticks around in this bad time with money, you know that you just must be a music lover and not a money lover.
I always say a creative, they don't have a choice about whether they write songs or not. If you're a true songwriter, you've got to. It's cathartic.
Oh, of course. I mean, I can't do anything else. I can't even change a plug.
Oh,
not alone, mate. Not alone.
Tom Hollings. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Sorry. Hello, love. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having us.
Right. A newish dad as well. So you're juggling, dad, oh my gosh, I'm just going to say this right now, and then I'll mention Joe's in a minute. But Noxa right now, these two guys, Sam and Tom, have a massive radio hit at the moment with 220 Kid, Don't Need Love, which producers and writers on. They have a song out on Ultra called Said Goodbye as Noxa. and they've also got Hugh Girls Better. And I mean, these guys are literally on fire. And Tom, you're juggling dad, fatherhood, teaching still, I believe, at the college music, and also doing all this stuff. What's your story? How did this start, and how did you get to do so much?
I don't know. I'm not sleeping a lot at the moment. That's for sure. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I think it's certainly challenging. I mean, I think right now, like more so, just because my little boy's just turned 2. Normally, he's our childminder sort of 3 days a week, but now, obviously, being in lockdown, he's not. So yeah, trying to balance sort of me and Sam. You know, we're producing a lot still. We're writing a lot still. Doing a lot of stuff over Zoom, which has been cool. But yeah, it's been challenging. Yeah, still doing sort of a bit of lecturing at Notting Hill Academy of Music, just sort of doing sort of an afternoon and an evening a week. Mostly just out of enjoyment. I mean, I've been there for 4 years, and the sort of people that have come through the academy, and Dan Owusu, who's at BMG, who's now started Dream Life Records at Sony, and you know, all these kind of people. And it's been really rewarding to kind of help people get into. But yeah, I think we're busier than ever, aren't we, Sam?
Yeah, somehow got even busier, which is bizarre.
How did you get into it, Tom? What was your back? Was teenager playing music, bands?
So my dad's kind of guitar teacher. He's always performed, but very much in the sort of rock and metal world, and that's what I was brought up into. And that's how me and Sam met, actually, because we were both in pretty heavy metal bands when we were like touring. Both left school when we were sort of 16, signed early. And yeah, our bands ended up touring together. And yeah, it was really heavy stuff. You know, kind of, I'd always give a reference like Slipknot, but probably heavier.
It was like death metal, basically. Death metal, wasn't it?
Do you know what? That just goes to show, knowing that, I mean, I know all the different genres you guys do, because I mean, I work with all of you on the screen here today. But, I mean, you guys do trap, you do hip-hop, you do dance music, you do electronica. I mean, you do literally every genre. So it just shows that a good song's a good song, really, doesn't it? And it's just learning the skills around doing those other bits.
Yeah.
So you met in the band, Tom, and then what kind of happened? How did you start doing the writing for other people and the commercial stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I guess both of us respectively were kind of always producing and doing bits and bobs when we were on tour. Like, you know, always had the laptop out on the buses. And I think I was doing a bit of work probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I was working for a digital company. We looked after a lot of the acts that were playing at Tomorrowland, like Carl Cox and, you know, Seth Troxler and all these guys. And me and Sam had always been talking about it whenever we met up. We're like, oh, we should do a project. We should do sort of dance stuff. And yeah, I came back from Tomorrowland. I rang him on the Eurostar and I was like, mate, let's just do it. Like, you know, I reckon we've got it. And it kind of just started from there. We got together, wrote a couple of tracks, and then, you know, they got picked up, and it just went from there. So, yeah.
Well, thank heavens you guys did get together. That's all I'm going to say.
It wasn't supposed to be... it wasn't supposed to be... I don't think we ever really set out to be like, cool, like this is going to be a dance project or whatever. We just sort of made some tracks, and then somehow one got round to Ultra, and then we got an email from Ultra like, oh, we want to sign this record. So that's when me and Tom looked at each other like, oh shit, I guess we're dance artists now, I suppose, you know. So we kind of just took it around with it, and with that came the session world, and with that came writing pop and, you know, other genres and stuff. And I don't know, just kind of, I hate to use the term like fell into it, but sort of did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get that. I think that does happen. I think you keep walking certain paths, and it's if the door sort of open in certain directions more than others.
Yeah. You just sort of take up every opportunity and run with it, I suppose.
Sam, were you doing music from a young age? What's your kind of background?
Yeah, I was. My first instrument was the trumpet, and then guitar, and then settled on drums, and that's what I played in bands. And then, yeah, like Tom said, we were touring together and playing this like death metal stuff. And then, and then we toured together, and then we just sort of kept in touch. And was it Download in 2014 we were playing, and we were smashed in the VIP area, and we were like, right, let's just do DJing, man, let's have it, come on, you know. And that, I suppose, was the birth of what we are now, I guess. Which is pretty weird to think about.
What surprises me, Sam, is when you're saying about, like, you were a drummer. I mean, I totally get, I mean, your drum beats are freaking sick AF. But you're the most amazing keyboard player. Your chords are ridiculous. So you didn't play keys in the band. I'm surprised.
Well, the thing with keys for me, I know a few shapes really well, and I can make it sound like I'm good, but I'm not actually. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a clinical player or anything. It was just a songwriting tool. I just, like, when I was starting to write songs with Tom, it's kind of like, you know, should probably learn the keys, because I have a bit of theory, but I knew my way around the keyboard, but not, like, you know, technically.
I would never have questioned that. You are the most amazing blagger. That's all I'm going to
Yeah, a serial blagger. But I think you kind of have to be to get by, don't you think?
So, for everyone watching, Sam and we've had quite a few placements together and cuts, but we've got 2 coming out on David Archuleta's album in America. And there's one that is probably my favourite song on this album that I did with David. And the chords in the chorus of Need, and that's what kills it for me.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is when we actually wrote the chorus, it was another set of chords, and then you went back in and replayed them. So it just goes to show when you're changing stuff, it can make it sound different, you know, when you change the instrumentation.
Well, I think when you have a certain progression, it might steer a writer to go to a certain group of notes. So then once that's written, and then you change the bed underneath it, obviously that's probably really obvious when I'm saying it like I'm some scholar, but you know it's like then you get this start to get some little clashes and little bits. I don't know, just can make things sound really interesting.
Amazing. Good morning, Mr. Sylvan, Mark, my dear friend and neighbour. So for the viewers watching, Mark, I can say this, Mark probably is one of the top 3 TV composers in our country. He's absolutely phenomenal. And your track record is, I'm going to let you tell some of them in a minute. And also, you live up the road. So,
and certainly just up the road. And
we did The Masked Singer together. And friends first, though, and then working after. So what was your background, Mark?
My background, well, I used to just write lots of instrumental music, and I worked at the BBC is when things started to get cooking. And I happened to give a mini disc back then of music to a graphic designer, you know, when I was about 18, and he commissioned me for a fashion show. And off the back of that, we stayed in touch and started writing music for the Samuel Johnson Prize, the Booker Prize. I even did Bowie at the Beeb, although that was rejected by Bowie himself. He didn't want any music at the front. Apparently there was a big meeting in Soho, and he heard this sequence, and the sequence was basically more sound design. It was his music blended one to the other with a bit of warped kind of radio interference. And he apparently watched it, and he goes, "I don't like that." And yes, he's behind me here, on the other side there. I can't do the point. It's there, isn't it? I've got to. Yeah. But basically, he said he wanted to have a straight fade in from the logo, I think it was BBC Two logo, straight into him on stage. Nothing between him and the fans. So that was a rejection, which was, but to be booted off by Bowie was quite a thrill.
Especially because you love him so much as well.
I do. I'd realised I'm telling this anecdote with him behind me in a photo. So
you could have covered his ears.
Obsessive. But as a result, it kind of grew from there, and I ended up doing car adverts and animations and weird installations, and it led to the world of light entertainment, which is really the world I kind of grew in most.
And name some of the shows humbly. We know you're saying this humbly, but come on, tell us some of your big ones.
Well, the first, Golden Balls, the £1 Million Drop, Pointless, Tipping Point at the moment, The Masked Singer, All Together Now, this kind of stuff. Total Wipeout with the big balls.
Catchphrase.
Oh yes, and the reboots as well.
Yeah.
Of Crystal Maze and stuff like that. But yeah, it kicked off really in 2004 when I did the lottery with a fellow published by Faber, chap called Simon Lacey, and and then suddenly the pitches started coming in. I won a few, and off it went.
But do you think, Mark, in your humble opinion, do you feel like media? I mean, obviously, sound design is a very, very different thing, and I know you've got some great stories about how you've made these sounds. I mean, I remember you telling me about the spade for the Pointless sound. You were hitting because you were irritated with your workman.
Whacking the spade.
Finishing a job very late.
He didn't turn up one day, and I was so furious with him. And it was for the £1 Million Drop, and it was the trapdoor noise.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I went outside and whacked his shovels and shouted and recorded this.
And then he went, "Oh, that sounds good," because he was whacking his tools.
I realised I had about 50 whacks and a couple of shouts. So I just fused them into one, and it became the trapdoor shutting noise on the £1 Million Drop. But it's always fun to get organic sources and turn them into the sounds people hear.
But I mean, but your talent just doesn't end there. I mean, and I love this, the thing of, you know, sometimes I feel like the industry tries to label us and put us in, pigeonhole us, you know, like you do this, you do dance music, but really the reality is a good song is a good song. And I mean, you do albums. I mean, you've got a group called Euro. Joe, actually, Mark and I have a project called The Candy Balls, which is new. So, I mean, it really isn't, there isn't a limit to what we want to do, is there?
Well, I must say, I feel, because the world of songwriting I had loved, and I kind of deviated into media writing, but it's lovely to be back in this world doing it, because it's such a wonderful expression of the soul. So I'm loving it. Yeah, we've got some exciting ones, haven't we, Joe, bubbling away?
Oh, man, I cannot wait, man.
So, Joe, we didn't talk about what you've got going on. I mean, equally yourself. I mean, you've got the next, now with this, I'm scared to say this now, Clean Gandhi, or how do you say it?
It's like potato. You can say it how you want.
Tomato.
I call him Klingandi.
Yeah, but what was the other way of saying it?
Klinganda.
Gander. Yeah, well, yeah, that doesn't sound right. You've got his next single, and of course you've already worked with him before, haven't you? And then you've also got a song with the Black Eyed Peas, which is phenomenal.
Yeah,
who else have you been working with recently?
Well, next month, hopefully, I think that's the release date, but we've got the next Omi single. You remember the guy from Cheerleader?
Yeah.
I've got the next single of that coming out next month. I've been working with Baker Matt.
2 years ago, was it, Joe?
What's that, Tom?
That wasn't that tune from 2 years ago, was it? The Omi one?
Yeah, it was. No, do you know what? It's 3 years, maybe 3 years now.
Big tune.
That's a good thing to note, is the fact that sometimes, you know, songs go to sleep and, you know, they sit on the side, but it doesn't mean their life is over or they've even had their moment.
Well, that's because me and Sky Adams and Will Sims and Reggie and Bolly, we wrote that song probably 3-4 years ago. And at the time, it was originally for Reggie and Bolly. And the guys who was on the X Factor, they're lovely guys. And but they didn't end up taking it, and Ultra somehow heard it, and they said, we want this for Omi. So they paid Sky a big, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but they paid Sky quite a big advance for the production. And we thought, yeah, this is a sealed deal, it's coming out. And then 3 singles down the line and it still ain't out, but it's coming out next, so.
Oh, good. Well, good luck with that one.
Yeah, and I've been working with Disciples as well, quite a lot. With DeVal and stuff, and Gabby Bishop, as you know, she's such a talent. She signs up.
And you know, and I think this is a good thing to mention right now. It's about having your teams, and this is one of the things that I wanted to cover on today's episode. There are. The truth is, there are lots and lots of writers out there in the world in our community, and it's good to try a lot of them. But my personal thing is I don't. Well, I've done it, but I wouldn't want to spend my life just in the room with different people every day. I think it's really good to find the people that you bond with and then stick with your teams. I don't know if you guys all agree with that.
Well, I agree with that, and I think that people like me, geniuses, right? I think that you learn a lot when you're in with me, which is great, you know, because I like giving back to society. And
Can you imagine what these sessions are like with us guys? Oh my goodness. No, but it's right, and I think, you know, it is about sharing and what we're doing and stuff, and also, and I think you bring in other people, bring in other projects. You know, then what happened was Sam did, but we actually ended up passing that Ricochet song, the title.
That's fine.
Gabby, and now Tom and Sam have it and are working on it. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you kind of have to find new paths for things.
And I must say that everyone on here, without like, you know, sounding like, oh, emotional, but you all really are my favourite people, man. Great people, true musicians, and the best talent out of all the people I work with. A lot of you, Victoria,
right
Sam,
back at you, man.
All of you. Mark, what a lovely guy, brilliant. Everyone who's here, that's what I like. Like you said, I like keeping my circle small. You know, I do loads of these sessions, but the people you always go back to become your friends. You know, so I just love you guys.
Can you feel the love coming out of my screen right now? Love.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean that. That.
No, I mean, you all know that you are my absolute favourite. I remember when I first worked with Sam, I actually said to him, "Oh, you've not had your moment yet. You're going to be absolutely huge one day." And I do believe that. I mean, you already are huge. You're 6'5", right?
Yeah, exactly, and counting. Yeah, I shan't rest till I'm 9 foot tall, and then that's it. Then I'll settle there, you know.
So I wanted to ask you all. So you've got an idea, something comes into your head, like a song. It could be like Bill and Ted. Is it Halo? Shallow? Chalo for Selena.
Yeah.
So okay, so with something like that, a song like that, or any song, you've got an idea. What are you doing? What are you doing with it? How does each of your process work? So who wants to take that? Do you want to take that, Sam or Tom?
So hang on. So let me just understand the question. So how would you say, begin an idea, or when you've got an artist in the room, or
does it come from, do songs come from production or writing or a lyric idea? I'm just curious from all of you.
It could be anything. I mean, the best results we always have is it's a bit weird as well, especially when you first met an artist. You try and put up like a sound, let's say, that's interesting, and you're kind of playing stuff, or I am at least, and Tom's sort of chatting with the artist, and you're just waiting for those tiny little signals in their face and stuff of positivity, or them going, "That's cool," or the moment they go, "That's cool," you go, "Okay, so they're more into this stuff, so now let's section off all that other stuff, and now we've got this left with." And before you know it, then you're kind of just narrowing it down. And I think, Tom, is that kind of how we do it, or is that just absolute bollocks what I just said?
No, I think you're bang on the money. But I think it's also with something like that as well. I mean, I guess, we all know that a lot of artists come in with references to the sessions. And I think most of the records that we're cutting at the moment are nothing like what the briefs are.
That's true.
So,
wow.
We might kind of prep a few ideas or a few chords or little, motifs. I think generally, Sam's right. It's just kind of clocking what an artist or someone reacts to, and then going with it. They've got to love it and love what's going on around them.
That's a really good point you're making as well, Tom, and something that could be good for our listeners. A lot of the times, I mean, I have too many moments in my life to mention of this where A&Rs have gone, "We need the next milkshake, we need the next Dua Lipa, we need the next this," and they'll always quote the biggest hit that's out at the time. And just to heads you all up, I personally would never copy that brief, because you can't. That moment's already been and gone in time, and by the time their record's coming out and something's happening, you need to be forward thinking.
100%.
See, I always do, and I never get it.
It's true though. Like every single kind of dance brief that comes through over the last year, we're working with singers, topliners, and it's been like, cool. So references Medusa, Piece of Your Heart, and Ride It by Regard, and you're like, cool, man, but that's happened.
Yeah, they just did that record. So what are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I just find that really frustrating.
Guys.
I know that with Sam and I, we talk about this a lot, don't we, on WhatsApp? Because I'll be looking for a new angle for melodies and stuff, and I know we were talking about Roddy Ricch, and then I was trying to incorporate some of his sort of rap patterns into vocal melody style, freestyle more style. So it's trying to keep ahead of your game, and also using influences in different ways. So I was looking to use almost like a rap thing, but with a melody, and fusing it. So I think to survive this industry, we always have to be very forward thinking and stuff, and being innovative. Is there anything that you think right now, like future trending, that might be coming to play?
I mean, the retro thing's starting to happen. The 80s thing and the retro stuff is definitely
love that stuff. Love that
coming
Weekend.
Back in a big way. Yeah, it's really good. The Weekend Blinding Lights, I think, has pretty much formed a blueprint for what we're going to see for the next. What a good record.
It sounds like Stranger Things. It sounds like Stranger Things, doesn't it? It's like, I'm going to sweep up, boys. I'm going to sweep up in this time.
Yay! That's good because I'll be there with you, Joe. Hey. But Mark, I mean, this is going to make Mark very, very happy because he loves 80s sounds. And I have to tell you, so I'm very, obviously, because I'm really good mates with Mark and he lives obviously up the road. But Mark shares some of his show stuff that he's working on. So I get to hear little bits. And there's one, am I allowed to name the show? You know the one, the Jean-Michel Jarre one?
Oh, Lightning.
Yeah.
Lions.
Oh, he played it to me and it's literally like Miami Vice. Jean-Michel Jarre, and I actually thought it sounded that you should release it, didn't I? I said that to you.
It was very sweet of you.
What inspired? So this is a really interesting thing. So you have, right, hang on, I'm going to say this word. Where did I write it down? Okay, colour synthesis. Is that the colour? Is that right, what I said?
It's the old colour visual thing or colour sound.
So Mark has this thing and he's going to tell you all about it. I've known him for maybe 7 years now and I still can't get my head around this. And I've tried. We've spoken about it numerous times, but maybe you can tell everyone about this. Is it a condition you've got?
Well, I believe you don't know you have it because I don't know why I got into media composing, but it was because I liked the colours on screen. And when I saw the colours, I could hear sounds in my head. So instinctively, I kind of looked at documentaries and saw blue skies. I started to load up synths that sounded blue in my head. And it got me very excited about working to picture because there's a moment when the sounds stick to the colours on screen. And, and suddenly it brings it alive.
So you work I know you like to work to some of the filming stuff, don't you? The credits and stuff to work off the colours, don't you?
Yeah, well, then when you get the title card for the logo, you see colours in it and you start thinking, well, I know what that would sound like. So, and also I think it's basically known as a synaptic fusion of the senses when two senses cross over. But it basically means you kind of, when you're out looking at stuff, like trees look very green and everything looks blue, and it kind of sounds like something in your head vaguely.
It fascinates me because I remember once I said something to you and you went, well, it's obvious it's that instrument. And I was like, no, I just don't have it, obviously.
So Mark, it's constantly like you're on LSD?
Basically, a bit like that, yeah. I'll put it in this glass here. But it is a bit like that. It does make you go around like a hippie going, oh, this is very beautiful. I'm always saying about sunsets and stuff to the point of tedium. But it's because
that's a blessing. It's a blessing, man. That is.
But I realise in hindsight, that's probably why I got into media writing, because of the visual element. And that's what lured me in. But at the time, I had no clue. I just cracked on and just liked the colours.
So you obviously feel this really inspires you, like when you're for your work. I find it helps love of what you're doing.
Well, it helps me. Like when the Marc Singer came along and we saw the logo, because of course Victoria and I worked on that together. Because this show needed a theme, and we thought we were doing some songwriting, weren't we? Thought why not do a song for a theme instead of a theme for a theme, a little ditty, a proper song. But the colours were like purple and kind of.
Yeah,
that kind of colour. And so the song sounded purple. We kind of purple instruments were loaded up, and the vibe went down that route.
What's a purple instrument?
That sounds very rude, doesn't it?
What do you hear as a purple instrument?
I collapsed into an innuendo.
Hey, Mark, what do you hear as a purple instrument? What's one, for instance? What's a purple instrument?
Well, for example, you know what? For example, when I think of trance music, I think of purple. All those lovely pads you hear, green and purples kind of spring to mind. So if you see, I did a show called Divided, which had a purple logo, and immediately I thought, I'll try trance kind of sounds for this. Even though it was a tea time show and was probably going to scare the elderly, I thought it would work. And it's together, but that was quite, in hindsight, an audacious choice because trance music for a game show sounds a bit wrong. But it was just the colour purple that lured me down to thinking like that.
I think also one of the things that I've learned with all of you guys is and specifically with Mark is it's never to be afraid of trying things again. When you've got an idea, if you need to rip it apart to make it right, I think it's always important to be able to have that very objective, open mind to do whatever it takes to go back and rewrite.
Yeah.
Would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm interested when it comes to songs, how you find that. Because in media, it's brutal. You're told that's wrong, start again.
It is. I think it's not so. I think the worst thing actually about the pop side of the industry, they're not as critiquing as the media. I've noticed that. I think it just tends to be no. And also, what's interesting in the pop world is if a song is wrong, it's normally the top line that's blamed, not the production. And I have then, there's a classic story of a song called This Kiss. I don't know if you're all familiar with it.
Faith Hill. I love that song. One of my favourite songs of all time.
My friend Robin and two other ladies that I know wrote that song, and they were apparently talking around, and they were just talking about, wow, because all of them were single, what would it be like to kiss someone again? And basically that song, though, was demoed over the course of quite a long time, 5 times. And it was because an A&R, Whitney, who I also know, Whitney Dane, believed in it so much. And she just thought that each time that the recording was wrong, the version was wrong. And it was 5 times. And then, look, it's been played so much you could travel all the way around the world while listening to it being played.
It's perpetual bliss. I love that song.
I love that song. Being in the room with your voice, Joe, is something. It's like the heavens open. It's a spectacle.
I want to ask you a question. What colour is my voice? Oh, yeah.
Question that.
What colour is my voice?
I see it. It kind of is golden orange in my head.
Ah, ooh, that's nice. I'll take that. I'll take that.
So, Joe, what about if you're doing a rewrite? How does that work for you? Like, for me personally, I mean, when it's, I don't know, something about the lyrics specifically, it feels like repainting the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, I mean, just the same. I mean, the same as you, really, V. I mean, what I do normally, I mean, in the moment, as you all know, I'm like an excitable kid, so I love everything I do at the time, because I'm in that moment and I'm enjoying the moment. And then when I go away, I listen to it. And then I just hear what's wrong and what needs fixing, and I hear what it needs fixing to. But it takes that time sometimes to live with it, to hear what you're doing, because we're in such a rush world. I mean, even after this, straight away I've got a session with people I don't know, with Louis III, who's my mate, but then with some producers I don't know. And we're writing a song on Skype. It's all a bit uncomfortable, but, bang, quick. And we'll do a tune in the moment, and I've got 2 kids as well, and a missus who's off work for the week. So it's, in the moment, it's like, yeah, that's done. But then I'll go away and I'll listen to that. Sometimes I think that's absolute shit. You know what I mean?
I think that's very true. I think you can be in the room, and this is a good point. You can be in the room and you can be thinking, oh my God, this is a great song. And you have a great idea and you're constantly trying to push it further to make it into something. And there's nothing more disappointing for me than when it only ever reaches that level B. I think the thing is to always try and aim for an A and B song, whatever you're doing. To any new writers out there, you've got to aim for your best of your best that you can be. But sadly, I think some of those songs just never make it all the way today. They just don't want to.
I was just going to say, V, such a weird situation. Remember Sam and Tom? We was in session with Ada Martin, and I don't know what artist it was we was writing for, but they came in, but Aidan was late. So we wrote a song quickly within about 10, 15 minutes. We just done a vibe before, we was just messing around. Now that song's just hit 10 million Spotify plays last week. That's with Alok, Killed by the City, but it's just mad. It goes to show, you can be in a session just when you're just having fun and you're not trying to write to a brief for a person, because we was trying to do a song for Aidan, which I do think with Aidan, he writes better songs for himself.
Great.
So we didn't really hit the nail on the head with Aidan for his stuff, but that thing before has gone on to be successful. It's crazy.
It's like that thing where you kind of, you spend all day, let's say you go from 12 till 6 and you're writing this thing and you're grinding away at this record, and you're like, you've gone through 3 choruses and 4 verses and however many pre's and stuff. And then you kind of finish it, you're like, cool, let's live with it, da-da-da. And then someone just starts a vibe at the end of the day, and then you write a whole song in about 20 minutes like that. Boom, done.
I know.
And it's way better than the thing that you were grinding at for the whole day. It's like...
I know.
If you're in a session with artists or with someone, what do you do? I'd love to know how you would deal with this. If you kind of if you're not feeling very creative. So say you're doing this online because, some of us, we're trying to do these Zoom online sessions. And for me personally, I'm finding them very difficult because for some reason that human vibe isn't there. But if you are in those moments, how do you work through that? Is there anything that we can do, we can learn to try and help us, Sam, while you're on the screen?
Sorry, what's the question exactly?
So if you're in a session and you're feeling a little bit not as creative as you normally are,
yeah,
and, I love it, ADD.
yeah.
Every time. Sorry, what's the question?
yeah, sorry. I was thinking about a dog on a skateboard. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
What you
no, for real. If you're struggling a little bit, if you're like not struggling, but you're not feeling very inspired, what do you do? I actually do know what you do, but I'd love to hear what you do.
I mean, at the minute, what's working for me is listening to genres that I have no idea about or know nothing about. Like literally just like a Spotify playlist of, I don't know, whether it be classical, or basically a genre that's so far removed from what it is you're trying to do. I don't know why, but that sort of seems to help me. And then obviously the usual things of just kind of having a scan through of what's, records that you love and stuff and picking up bits. But yeah, I don't know. I think as well, taking myself away from the situation. I know it's hard to do when you're on a Zoom session with someone or whatever. You can't just be like, cool, see you later. But, when you're trying to compose on your own, it's definitely like if you find yourself getting frustrated or fed up with it, move away, go and do something else completely unrelated. Go cook, do something else, whack it out, whatever it might be. I think that time away is way equally as important as the time on. I don't know if I really answered the question. I just
that makes sense.
I know one thing that you do, and that's a great thing, is to use reference tracks to just inspire you, basically.
Yeah.
The thing that you do is you start jamming around with different sounds on keyboards.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, sometimes you have a sound that will play, if you have a piano, it just kind of holds itself out, but you might come across like a synth patch or something that you hold it down and it has a gate to it or a rhythm to it, and suddenly you're like, that's inspiring. Okay, so that means that the melody could go da 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 or whatever, and then suddenly you're like, okay, we're in, let's try this for a bit,
Exactly.
And then if you get frustrated with that, you move away, and then
you on it.
Yeah.
There's something, is it LJ does, which I do, J Nebula, I do not like this that he does personally. I said this to him, so I'm not saying anything behind his back. But he keeps changing the key of the song. So instead of getting bored of it, what he'll do is like every 30 minutes, it'll be like, is that the key we were in? Oh yeah, I just dropped it, and I just dropped it to.
That really helps, though. That does really help.
You might help you, but if you try,
you hear the song for the first time again, your ears are like, that's new all of a sudden.
Like you're working on a melody because you're like la 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 la.
Yeah, we're just like messing with you guys.
La la la, we hear that we hear. No, as a topliner, that is not helpful. But I can get how it makes it. And that actually is quite interesting because sometimes songs sound better in different keys.
Yeah, 100%, definitely.
For some reason, the instruments sound better, don't they?
Well, if something's too bright, it can sound a bit like nasal and it's like getting in your ear a bit. You drop it down a few and you're like, it's a bit warmer now and it's nice, and suddenly the whole song changes. Or you have a thing where the chorus is amazing, but it's not right. So you're like, well, let's head up like 7 and then belt that thing that we were singing low, and suddenly you flip the whole thing around again. I remember Tavlo was talking about that with Talking Body, how she did that. They wrote the chorus it was 6 below or something.
Oh, wow.
And they took that and she was like, I know this chorus is amazing, but the key isn't right. Let's head up there, sing, belt it, and then let's work backwards, which I just thought, trying that is amazing as well.
Do you think tempo, guys, is equally as important when you're working on tracks? Do you think that's important, whether they're up? Even because I notice for me, like sometimes that 1 or 2 BPM either side can make every single difference to a melody that's dragging, specifically on the melody side, whether it's dragging or whether it's sounding a little rushed vocally. It's a tiny change, but it can really. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it does, all different, what suits it. I mean, like you said, even 1 or 2 BPM can totally change the tune, especially when you were saying about the rap melodies earlier. For instance, like Craig David, I've been listening to Born to Do It album, just love that album. And, he's got a tune that goes, one day man in my own business, go on back on kick, that speed. So imagine if he would have done that, like, one day man in my own business, it wouldn't have hit as much as it, wouldn't hit as much.
It's definitely keeping those melodies sounding at a good pacing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really true for dance music as well. Really true. Like that 119, like that space from like 119 up to 128, which is kind of where we see
Do you think with tempos, though, do you think it's a trending thing? Because I know obviously at one point everything was 128, 130. And then we dipped down to the 112, didn't we? 110, 112.
Well, there was 105 for ages as well when all the tropical stuff was just all over radio.
Kygo style, yeah.
Everything.
Is there a new one coming in now? Because obviously I was wondering, because, you know, obviously we're in lockdown. No one can go to clubs right now. This is a new moment in time for us. So do you think, everyone, it's going to affect the music that we're doing? Mark, will it affect the shows you're working on? I mean, I think obviously your shows won't be getting filmed right now. Like, how is this going to affect us all on lockdown? And what's going to emerge out the other side? So I'll open that up to the floor if you would ever like to answer that.
Well, when it comes to, because media writers often write in solitude. So really it's just an extension of the solitude. You know, often you're just on your own. Every now and again you pace the floorboards and look out the window. So it's kind of a bit more the same. But when it comes to the shows, yeah, they have been frozen because, of course, studio shows with audiences in isn't really a doable thing anymore. Although they're working, I think the Masked Singer's coming back for season 2 without the audience. Things like that. They're trying to, as we speak, work out ways around filming without many people about, skeleton crews and all this kind of stuff. But it means there's a bit more time to do other stuff. I always think every negative has to be a positive. You've got to try some way of finding a different way of thinking. It's like the old Brian Eno cards he had in the studio. Everyone swap instruments or something randomly would be thrown in there, and it'd be like forcing you to think differently. So at the moment we're being forced to think differently, and it's an opportunity to change patterns of operation and doing it a different way.
But we are, obviously, but we're in this lockdown and music is going to keep evolving, but we can't go to clubs right now. Are we suddenly going to have a different style? Or are we going to, if whatever it is, if it's December, September, next year, whatever, will the club music be as we left it in clubs, or will it be completely different when we suddenly turn up in a club?
Club music's the same right now. I mean, especially some of the more like deep house and tech house labels like Defected or Toolroom and stuff. I mean, they're really smashing it right now in terms of what they're trying to do to get on this online stuff, all these online festivals and stuff. And I mean, Tom, what do you think, mate? Because there's still a lot of like tech house records and stuff. It's not really changing yet.
I think we're seeing, because we just got a club report back for a couple of tracks, and they're still doing the club reports, but the reports coming back from people who are actually playing them out on Instagram Live or like YouTube live streams and are giving their feedback. So you're still able to get kind of the feedback on the tunes. Obviously, it's not getting out to as many people, and they're not able to read like a dance floor on the reaction as well as you could do in a live environment. But club music's certainly still there, and I think it's just I think it's growing a demand for people can't wait to just get back to Ibiza and like be in that club environment. So Defected, if you look at their kind of live, they put together like live stream festivals and stuff, and they're so well attended.
That's great.
People
Friday nights. I heard there was a 12-hour rave like online, but I can't imagine, even with a virtual reality, just walking around my sitting room for 12 hours. 12 hours.
If you drink 13 cans of lager, you'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
So if anyone's got any questions, please do throw them on the table now. But I wanted to ask you all very quickly, in the last 15 minutes, like, is there been one session in your life that's been very, very memorable, or something you've worked on, one moment that's kind of funny, or something that you could share with us all now? Joe's grinning.
There's loads.
I just don't want to throw anyone under the bus.
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, and a lot of it involves illegal substances. No, guys, I did have one question very quickly, if you don't mind me. I find with this isolation, apart from not because my mum's got COPD, same as your mum, me, and I miss my mum dearly, like to just to cuddle her and just to just have that human contact with my mum, because I'm definitely a cockney mummy boy. But I have quite enjoyed the lockdown, because every day just feels like a Sunday to me. It's just I've been writing. The Zoom thing. I'm actually thinking about starting just doing Zoom sessions because I love working from home. I'm absolutely loving it. I've had so many garden parties. Every day has been, and I've been able to see my kids a lot more, where normally when I'm writing with you guys, both every minute, all the time, everywhere, I don't see my kids enough. So I've really enjoyed it. How have you found it, you guys? That's what I want.
I have to say, Jay, that I am 100% agreeing with you. You know, I've spoken to a few people, and I'm watching people singing this, I'm bored in the house, bored in the house. And I'm thinking, bored? I don't even have time. And I'm not judging anyone, but I think if you're as a creative, we have to take responsibility for ourselves right now and help ourselves. And I think keeping busy is, is really important. It's like this, you've got to see the silver lining in every cloud. And this means we are getting at home more, so we can do stuff at home. We can be more creative. We can recharge our batteries and try different things. And if you're at home and you want to use a computer system, you can be watching these amazing tutorials from the top producers on YouTube. You can join organizations like the Ivors Academy and watch things like this. I mean, there really is so much out there for us to be filling our time with. And I think if you keep busy, soon we'll be out the other side of it before you know it.
I've been meditating, which I've never done before. I feel like a new person, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, I think as well, it's one thing I've been trying to practice is not being too hard on myself, if you know what I mean. Like, sort of seeing days where, one day I finished 3 records, and we and Tom jump on Zoom and we finish stems, or we finish, this, or a mix, or a master, or whatever it might be. And then other days I think it's an achievement that I got up and I showered that day. And I'm like, that's cool too. And it's like, it's not being like, nah, you idiot, you didn't do this, da, da, da. It's like, it's fine. You can do that tomorrow. You can do that Friday, whatever.
Yeah, I agree. That's right.
We're all going through a bit of a collective trauma right now, I suppose you could call it. So, that's fine, and that other thing's fine too. That's how I'm viewing it in my head.
Yeah, that's been our podcast, isn't it? It's just like worry less about what's going on, because actually, you have, it's like, at the studio, if you're in every day and you're having sessions, you have really productive days, and you have days when nothing works. And it's the same, doing it here remotely over Zoom. Like, some days you might have a shit day, and it's like, it's fine to do that. And like you say, like, it is an achievement just getting up and showering some days and being like, I made it out of bed. And, and then other days, like you say, you will do 2 or 3 records and you get loads of stuff done. Like, we had one of those days last week, like I think last Thursday, where we got through like an entire, like,
so much admin,
and then Friday we did nothing.
You're talking about the showering days. Yesterday I had a deadline on finishing this TV show that I'm writing that's going with an album that's been offered a deal that I'm working on. And I literally had to turn it in by like 10. So I got up at 5:30. I know, I must be mad. I got up at 5:30, but by the time I'd finished it, I was a little late at 11. And I had another thing with Cy Holbert, One Direction Ed Sheeran guy. And basically, I did have my pyjamas on and my fluffy one thing. And he said to me, "Have you got your pyjamas on?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do actually."
Guys, look what I'm wearing. Look what I'm wearing. I've got Ugg boots on and pajama bottom.
It's good. I like those trousers, though. What about you, Mark? What's your routine like?
Well, I reckon we'll look back on this in, let's say, 2025. One would hope, fingers crossed, we'll be having a beard going, do you remember that year, the coronavirus year, when we all... Yeah. And suddenly we'll maybe appreciate things more once they do unlock, which hopefully they will. But yeah, I just think it's an opportunity to be creative in a different way, I've found. Like the song side of my life, I'm able to do that more, which is great fun. And do little things like I'm doing a full-length version of the Pointless theme, because you never know, someone might like it.
Well, I think with us as well. I mean, I don't know how often it's been done. Obviously, we did the Masked Singer, and now they actually want to release a song as a single. And so maybe the theme tune music is going to be morphing a little bit in the community. There's one question I'd like to address before, as I'm going to start looking at some of these questions, guys. A lot of people are asking how, I guess specifically in lockdown, because you can't get to events, how do you meet other writers? So, I mean, all I can think of personally is maybe going on to joining chat groups on Facebook. Like, I know there's one called I Love Music, and maybe songwriter groups, and maybe just writing on there, but maybe posting one song and saying, I'm looking for co-writers. Has anyone else got any suggestions for that?
Yeah, just social media's out there. I mean, there's no way anyone could put a thing on in the start of the day, and by the end of the day, they couldn't get someone to write with. You've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got this, hit up people. And, I do get a lot of people hit me up to write, and I never write, which is quite bad. Because I have to just, because I've got management, I want to work with a certain, success of people at the moment. I know that sounds a bit snooty, but...
Never send songs unless you ask first. I always say that. Never, because that irritates if you start sending 20 songs. And always ask the people, say, can I send you a song? And then just pick the best one. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the way that, you get approached. Like, I will listen to everything that comes in on my Instagram, or because I've got a phobia of missing out on like a hit. But
it's fear of missing out, man. That's the big one, isn't it? Yeah. But Instagram's your best friend there. Like, I know a few people that have just completely, shoehorned a career out of doing that, of just Instagram bombardment. And like Tom said, we get sent a lot of stuff. We always make sure we listen to it, but it's about not being pushy. If the response is like, oh, it sounds cool, but maybe not for us, it's like, oh, but come on, please, got work. Just got to kind of take that as a no, and then move on to something else.
Yeah, maybe come back another time. I know that myself. I had someone do that the other day, and I actually had someone hit me up, and he goes, and he said he was homeless and stuff, and he said, I'm just going to level with you. But he had his phone, and I saw in the mirror he had an iPhone X, so I was a little perplexed. So I said to him, well, I said, first question is, are you safe? And he was like, yeah, I'm staying at a mate's. I was like, this is good. I was like, do you have any, before, were you doing any jobs? And he was like, well, no, I'm a songwriter. I want to be a songwriter. And I said, do you realize how many jobs I've had in my time? And I know my friends have all been the same. We've been in bar bands, karaoke singing, functions.
Behind the bar.
Behind the bar, myself included. Like, I was doing demoing at the Ideal Home show, like paint techniques for 14-hour days. I mean, I would say this, if you're starting out, obviously it's hard right now, we're in lockdown. Whatever you need to do, whatever it takes to get your career so that you can run them parallel. And also right now, I say this every episode, but if you reach out, find out, the PRS are offering, that's just opened back up again, everybody, the PRS Emergency COVID Fund. And it's not going to be probably open for very long because there's a high volume of people applying, but you can get between £250 and £1,000. And I think the MU and other places. So please, don't get yourself in trouble. Reach out to these people. There's another question that I think we should tackle, which is about the kind of copywriting of stuff. Stuff like that. I mean, personally, does anyone have any answers on copywriting? Like your songs? I mean, if you got the proof of it on the computer, that's it really, isn't it?
I don't think that's... actually, I'm not educated enough in the department, actually.
Nor am I.
Tom, do you want to... Do you know... Is that in your territory?
I guess... Something till it's ready for release.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of... I guess we're probably a little less concerned about it now than we probably have been in the past, in the fact that I think the writing and producing community is fairly close knit, and we all support each other when the songs come out. I think we pay quite a lot of attention to new releases and music. I think all of us would collectively know straight away in the event of one of our songs or lyrics or melodies being plagiarized, and people just don't, in terms of tending to kind of steal and copy directly. I think it happens less now, but I think stuff naturally copyrights itself. You get it, you've got the proof on your computers or Macs or whatever it is.
Voice notes as well, that's proof of being in the room.
That one worked for me one time for a very big problem I had with a song once. The voice note.
Yeah, because you leave the dictaphone running the whole day, don't you? Basically.
Yeah, I have 2 dictaphones, don't I?
Yeah.
Guys, do you remember back when I first started? I used to send tapes back to myself in a jiffy bag to copyright the song.
So did I. I did that. Yeah. I did that as well. I think the thing is, I know people pressurize a lot to register the song, and a lot of new writers that I work with, up and coming artists, tend to do that. And I'm like, what's the hurry? Because the reality is, if we have to pull in another producer on that song, or it gets taken by a DJ, the splits could be changing. So I really feel, unless you've got some activity on that song, I know I'm probably saying that, it's not as important for me personally to do it.
What I suggest is don't register all the songs so you can keep some songs. So if your publisher doesn't know about them, you can...
We have to be careful what we say, because I know our publishers in the is watching, is Georgina. So,
Georgina.
Hello, Georgina. I love Georgina. She's such a lovely lady, man.
No, I just feel, I know that they want us to turn them in. I mean, it's different if you've got a deal, because you should be giving copies of the song to your people so they can get them to the sync departments and help pitch. I think people are asking about LinkedIn. No, I personally don't. I think what the boys said here is the best solution is to just gently hit people up on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram is the one.
Find groups like Facebook groups. See if I know that some of the Ivors are maybe going to do some mixers, so maybe you can meet some other people there. We've got a few more minutes, but I just want to quickly let you all know, next week we've got an amazing show. We've got Olga, who's produced Coldplay. We've got the brilliant David Arnold, who did obviously the James Bond films and Good Omens. And we've got Gary Clark, who I had a cut with Demi Lovato with him, but he's now just done Sing Street. And then the week after, we're doing a special episode for Mental Health Week. So we're going to be really, really getting into that and how to cope in lockdown. So we're hoping you're going to be there for those ones as well. But guys, how do you think you're going to continue on just for the next few weeks while we're in lockdown? What are you going to keep doing in music? Are you just going to keep doing what you're doing?
I'm going to sweep up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm feeling on fire at the moment. I feel chilled, and I feel like I'm writing the best stuff I've ever wrote.
Yeah, I know. And Mark, you said your creativity. You said you feel like on fire right now as well.
Well, it's a moment, actually, because I've been doing these shows, I think, for 21 years now. And it's the first time when I've got a break and my head's flowing in a different direction. It's kind of unleashed the top of it. So it's a strange, nice feeling that. It's like all hovering out of you. So I'm just going to go with this flow and see where it takes me.
Because I know you're really enjoying writing more songs at the moment, aren't you?
Oh, certainly, and producing them too, and getting stuck in. So it's a different direction suddenly being kicked off.
What about you guys? What about you, Tom and Sam? What's the next couple of weeks got for you in store?
Just trying to, I guess more of the same really. Just trying to wrap stuff up and try and not get ourselves on the back foot, because we seem to live our whole career on the back foot with people chasing stuff all the time, and we're like, yeah. So we're actually nearly ahead of the game right now, but. However long.
I'm not going to mention the two songs. All my tracks are like...
They're coming.
Come on, you keep saying that.
Do you know what, guys? I'm actually really looking forward to hearing the dance version of Ricochet, man.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, really good.
That needs to be finished this week as well, so we'll probably do it in 2 weeks. So
I would say, guys, anyone watching here, don't be scared. Guys, do you think people can get adequate stuff together on GarageBand or like a basic program? They can sing their videos in. Is there anything
you can record a guitar or a piano, or have a basic piano sound and a mic in? You're kind of.
I do all my vocals from GarageBand.
Is there any microphone that people watching that would be a basic one, too expensive, that we could recommend?
I mean, to be honest with you, there's so much resource out there now on the internet. If you even Google like best microphone for under £100, you'll get a plethora of websites saying here are our top 10 picks of and just go on that, look at reviews. I'm sorry I couldn't be more help because I'm not like great on gear and stuff, but it's all out there.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is don't put barricades in front of yourself. If you're in lockdown and we don't have time to be able to meet other people because of all the access to them, get a little setup yourself, try some things. It's a steep learning curve to get there in the end. And I think that's really important, just to keep being positive and being really productive. Anyway, this morning we've hit our hour's gone already. I miss you guys immensely. It's so nice to meet you. And thank you so much for coming on the show today. Have you got any last words anyone would like to say to our viewers?
Just thank you for basically, wasted an hour with us. It was really fun.
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, everyone. And remember, guys, see it, believe it, be it.
Very motivational.
Screen in wonder wondering what the hell you're doing, Joe. What about you, Tom?
What's that, V?
What have you got? Any final last thoughts to say to everybody?
No, I think just seeing the questions coming in, I think quite a lot of them have been about, building networks and, how important stuff is. And I think, we all started, from building a network from nothing, essentially. And I think it's just putting yourself out there, connecting with people, being friendly and, writing good music, and it will all come together.
Agreed. And maybe that's something I'll speak to the Ivors about afterwards, and we'll see maybe if we can get some of the people that are watching this, maybe we can get a little mixer together for media and the composers.
Great idea.
Lyric
Good
writers.
idea.
Because maybe in this time we can fuse a few genres together and break some boundaries. Mark, have you got any final words? And Joe? Oh, Joe's already done his time.
I reckon music is a universe you can live in. I think you can actually live in it. And so if all hell's kicking off in the real world, you can hide in music and then pop into the bubble whenever you want to.
Yeah.
It's like a cloak.
True, love that.
Brilliant.
Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, and I'll probably
Nice
see
one, guys.
you a bit later.
See you later, guys. Love you,
everyone.
man, and let's all write soon.
Let's have it.